right? When you got two jobs and they're doing their job here at Oregon, a total level of focus and commitment on their part. There's a lot of guys in this building. They know that this has never been just about them, right? On either side of the ball, we have a lot of coaches involved in that prep, but ultimately they're handling it really well.
We'll go to James, front row.
It's been like having both Gary and Dak back on the field, and just how close is Evan to potentially playing here in the playoffs, Dan?
Yeah, everybody's closer than they were yesterday. It's good seeing guys out there.
Eric, second row.
And I'm wondering, just a younger group going into this for the first time, kind of what have you seen and kind of what's been the messaging about just taking this one day at a time and all that?
I mean, you just said it. It's one day at a time. Your routine, you try to keep the same. It's a new group, but this group has experience. They've played a lot of games this year, and it isn't just another game, right? It's different from that standpoint, right? It's an elimination game, but these guys know what the prep looks like.
Curious what you guys maybe changed or what you kept the same from the process preparing for a playoff game last year, what you did with the extended break.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to hop into the details there, but we have a plan.
In the back, Jack.
Coach, we talked about how special it was to play a playoff game here at Autzen, especially for the fans, but you got a couple local kids. Have you talked to the local players just about how special this is for them as well, especially for a player like Bryce who's ending his college career with a home playoff game?
Yeah, we talked about it back when we played here before that, hopefully this isn't our last opportunity to play on this field. And obviously guys like that are really excited. We had a senior day here, right? And a lot of those guys were wondering, is this going to be my last moment to get to play there? And we knew if we took care of business, there'd be another opportunity.
Back to Zach in the front row.
How has your team benefited from this time off? You said it'd be good for them to kind of get away from the program for a few days. How have you seen that kind of come to fruition?
Yeah, able to finish up strong academically, a chance for us to be able to do a reset as a coaching staff and evaluate what are we doing really well, what do we need to improve, what wrinkles can we add, and then just a continued growth opportunity for our players.
Next one, James.
Can you take us into what Drew's involvement has been already just in terms of game preparation and planning, but then also in game calling and et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of involvement. I mean, since the day we got here, Drew's been very strategic in all elements of our game plan, run game, pass game, included personnel changes. He's had a lot of that, but every single offensive coach has been really, really involved in that.
Back to Zach.
Do you have any idea if there will be early enrollees from this past class that will join you throughout this week and as you go on through the bowl prep?
Yeah, it'll all start really for us in January.
Eric, second row.
What stands out about their quarterback and just kind of what he's able to do, especially with his legs?
Yeah, you said it. Like, he can win with his legs, but I think what he doesn't get enough credit for is the ability to connect on deep balls downfield. They're a team that has a great play action game, and they're able to hit shots, on post routes and able to attack you down the field vertically. But obviously, he can run and creates an 11th hat.
In the back, Aaron.
You talked just on the bye weeks this week about how your team is able to add some wrinkles with your offensive and defensive schemes. With this time off, have you been able to kind of take advantage of that, being able to put install some new stuff so that way you're able to be a little bit different than maybe what JMU has seen on tape this season?
Yeah, I think we've challenged ourselves to do that throughout the season, where we always have new wrinkles, new opportunities. We'll see what comes up in this game.
Back up front to James.
What do you think it is, Dan, that over your time to now have 3 coordinators in Power 4 jobs, there's not too many coaches who can claim that? I think you and Kirby, maybe Dabo at times. What is it that you do that enables your coordinators to have that level of success already? It's one thing to have it on offense with the agency that Kenny and Will had, but for Tosh now too. What are you doing to put these guys in a position to succeed?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything that I'm doing. I think we hire really good people that work extremely hard, and they realize at Oregon there's an opportunity to continue opportunities, and those guys reach their opportunities. So we hire really good people that work really hard at their job. There's clear direction of the expectations, and those guys do a great job of modeling what it should look like to get that opportunity and become a head coach. They've learned that. They've sat in that seat, and maybe it's a different seat, but there's a lot of open lines of communication that are going to allow them to have success.
If anybody on Zoom has a question, you can raise your hand too. We'll go back to Zach over here.
AP All-Americans came out today. Obviously, you guys are not focused on individual goals, but you had 4 guys mentioned. That's not nothing. How encouraging is it to see those guys get those accolades, and What does it mean for your program that you're able to bring those guys in?
Yeah, I always think individual success is an attribute to the job that the whole team's done, and I think every one of those guys. I didn't see that who was awarded what, but we have a lot of guys that deserve recognition. You know, it's great that people are recognizing what our players are doing, but I think every one of those guys would tell you any success that's coming their way, it's a derogative of our team's success.
Back to Eric.
Thoughts on how Trey has attacked the rehab process to get back in a place where he could help you guys?
Yeah, he's done a great job. He's done a great job, and all these guys have been really eager. Again, it's about us protecting them from themselves at times, but have been really eager to get out there and do the work.
And James.
Similar to what I asked about Drew, but for Hampton, just what has Chris brought to not only reshaping and remodeling that room, but along with Rashad, obviously, in part of the preparation and the game calling and et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, every guy is in charge of individual pieces of the game plan, but obviously, you know, Coach Hamp's done an outstanding job. I think our secondary units grown and gotten better every single year, and that's credit to Coach Hamp and Rashad and the job that they've done, Coach Wadood, and really just the entire defensive staff. But very involved. We make all of our decisions together. It's very few times that we split off into different rooms to make decisions. We come back and collectively and say, hey, what's good, what's not good, and work through those details. But he's an outstanding coach and excited for his opportunities here.
If you're on the Zoom, you want to ask a question, please turn on your camera. We'll go to Adam first.
Dan, I'm just wondering with Will and Tosh, how have you sort of organized your time with them in terms of how much they're on Oregon, how much they're on their other jobs, and also how have you sort of referred to your own experience back at Georgia when you were kind of doing that in 2021?
Yeah, ultimately, it's been when we're here at work, like our hours haven't changed, and when we're here, it's focused on Oregon, right? And then outside of that time is when you have the opportunity to work on things for your other opportunities.
Tommy on Zoom.
What do you see from JMU's defensive line coming off of their 8-sack game against Troy?
Yeah, one, just extremely disruptive, and they do a great job creating one-on-ones, you know, making it challenging where guys are going to have to win single blocks. They're going to have to win one-on-one blocks. ID and protections are difficult at times too with some of the looks that they present.
Max on Zoom.
Coach, you guys had a big month in November, some big wins, even without some of your best players. Can you talk about just how valuable that has been for you guys as a team and just finding that momentum with the playoffs starting?
I think you always feel the pressure in moments when, especially when we had a hiccup early against Indiana, that, you know, we didn't have any room, you know, to leave any indecision for anybody, you know, afterwards. And our guys really approach that with each game, you know, has a life of its own and we have to go attack it and we can do it in a variety of ways. And I think that's probably the biggest thing we showed is we can win in different ways. I think all three phases came together quite a bit in the last 4 games where special teams were making big plays, defense or offense were making big plays for us that were certainly the difference.
Coming back on site, Aaron in the back.
Fair announced that he wants to return next year to this team. Just how have you kind of seen him grow throughout this season, and how big of an advantage is he going to be coming back next year?
Yeah, certainly not to next year yet, but excited about a guy like Bear that wants to come back. You know, I think it shows a great deal of maturity on his part and how he's grown and developed into the player that we all knew he could be, and he's gotten better and better each week. Continue to see that growth for him, so excited about what that means for our future.
Back to the front row and James.
No, with the postseason, the redshirt rule allows anybody redshirting to play, Dan, but is it plausible for Mackay?
Yeah, I think it's plausible for several of our players.
We're going to go back to the back again. Aaron.
But in your guys' steps. We're going to talk to a lot of players on the offense today. In your perspective, just from game 1 until now, what area has the offense just grown the most throughout the season?
Yeah, probably more than anything, self-inflicted wounds, and that's just, you know, everybody being on the same page, all 11 guys doing their job. You know, something we grade every single game is our ability to execute our job, or at least do our job, right? It's not necessarily about you won the one-on-one, but you were where you're supposed to be. I think a lot of it starts when you can eliminate beating yourself, and you beat yourself when you have one guy doing something else.
Anything else? James, front row.
You've certainly steered into the FIBU mantra for years, Dan. When the narrative nationally is the shoes on the other foot, and how do you create an everybody of doubt where no one's doubt would be, nationally speaking, more doubting than whether or not a G6 deserves to, the 2 G6 teams deserve to be in a playoff? That's more of what the doubt is heading into a game like
Yeah, our standard's our standard, right? And you have to. This team wouldn't be here if they didn't play well all season, and they beat teams that had. You'd say on paper, okay, this team has talent, that can out-prepare this team. That's not the case with these guys. These guys have handled those moments this year and been able to perform really well. So you look. I watch the film and I see a really good team that's explosive, that has ability to create plays, but it's really ultimately for our team still going to be about us and our ability to execute.
Anyone else on Zoom? Nope. Nope. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
Ready for Coach Stein? Coach, hey, jump on in that middle seat. All right, let's open it up to questions. Start right here on the left with Zach.
What have the past 2 weeks been like for you, and how impactful and how helpful has it been to have someone like Dan where you can pick his brain because he went through this a few years ago?
Yeah, it's been crazy, but really cool. Obviously, great opportunity for me and my family, but excited about what we're doing here in this next game. Excited about the opportunity to compete against James Madison, a really, really good team, and really just focus all my energy right now on the Ducks.
James?
probably take a long time to answer this, Will, but you speak to like the adaptability that you've had to have this season, particularly the second half of the season, because we talked before the year of like you're going to do more 12 and 21 regardless. All right, maybe not to the extreme you have, but you were. But when you got down at one point against SC to 3 receivers, and it's not just, well, you're running more, so you're passing less. There are fewer plays. There's pacing differences. There's personnel differences. How much of in preparation and in game have you had to adapt? Maybe more than at any point, not just here, but in your career.
Yeah, this has definitely been the most non-11 that I've done in my career. I was at Lake Travis. We kind of had the same personnel grouping out there the whole time, and we just morphed it into different looks. UTSA were heavy 11, had some 12, and then here, just this year especially, like you mentioned, it's been a lot of different. But that's why we practice so much. That's why we walk through so much in the winter, spring, summer. We build the plan out based on our personnel groupings first and how we see those kids fitting in each scheme. But we also make sure we practice the same plays at a different looks all week, just in case. And it's really played a big role to our success this year on offense. If you think about some of these games, it's like 3% 11 personnel, 40% 21, and another 50 something percent 12. So it's been really cool. And I'm really proud of the team, really proud of the guys. They've just been adaptable. Like you said, that's the key word. And they've attacked every single week, like it's a championship game.
Second row, Eric.
I guess the follow-up here, and probably a dumb question, is, but how much would it help to have some of those receivers back, and kind of what would you'd like to see them kind of offer if they're available?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be full strength going into this game, and I think those guys are working back and feel good about their prep up to this point to give us an opportunity to potentially see them in this next game. But we're willing to do whatever it takes, and if we got to play with 10 offensive linemen on the field and 1 quarterback, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out either way. But no, I'd love to have everybody back. Being a team full strength going into this game against James Madison would be very, very good for us.
Right behind him. Just heard a little bit recently just how much Dante has grown as a leader, and Dan was just saying that like it's very obvious this just isn't just another game. What's the emotional messaging side of it? Like how do you talk to the offense and just the quarterback room in particular about how to handle a game like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a 60-minute game. It's not necessarily different in our prep. I think our coach Lang's done a great job in how we've prepped up to this point, making this week truly like a game week for us in terms of our schedule. But our guys have never changed. They attack every single day in their prep. They practice with a sense of urgency. So I don't know if the messaging is different than any other game. It's definitely it's a win or go home. We all know that. And James Madison's an elite team, one of the best 12 in the country. So our guys are really prepared right now, and they attacked last week with a sense of urgency, and they're doing the same this week. So I don't necessarily think it's a different message. It's just continue to double down on our process, which has worked up to this point.
Go next row back, Isaac.
Hi, Coach. Listened to your podcast with Dan Casey the other night, and you talked pretty extensively in that about all the different kind of coaching trees you've come from. I'm curious in a follow up to some of the different personnel looks. Which branches of those trees do you really pluck for when you're looking to add to those playbooks? Get into some bigger personnel packages, two back stuff.
Probably really goes back to my high school days, to be honest. When I was a player for Bob Beatty at Trinity High School, and our offensive coordinator Andrew Coverdale was one of the best in the country. We were really multiple then in high school. We played in the split backs. We did 12 personnel looks. We were under center. We were in the gun. We'd motion. We'd shift. We'd huddle, speed break. We did a lot of things in high school football, and that's why we won a lot of games, a lot of state championships. So I think ever since then, it kind of just bled into my overall philosophy of how to play offense. It's not a bunch of new schemes. It's just how can we dress up our plays a million different ways out of different personnel groupings. Then when I played at Louisville, Sean Watson was a big West Coast guy where we get under center, I formations, and 12 and 21, and other, multiple looks. And Bobby Petrino, same way, using backs. He was really good at using running backs in the pass games. And really fortunate to work for guys and play for guys that were creative in their own sense and use their personnel to their advantage.
There's a lot of expectations with Dante going into this season, and it feels like he's maybe even exceeded it to the point where he's being talked about as maybe the number one pick. How do you feel like he's grown since day one of fall camp to now going into the playoffs? Just where have you seen that improvement? Because he wasn't viewed that way maybe at the start of the year.
I think Dante's grown in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously he's playing at a really high rate right now. He's operating the offense like you want. So I think that's the biggest thing is operation, being able to take the huddle, call the play. Like he's to a point now where I can just kind of start the play call and he knows what I'm about to call. And I think that's really cool for me to see. And it shows the confidence that he has in our system and being able to articulate it at the line of scrimmage or in a huddle. I think I've seen a lot of growth there. Protection checks, run checks. He's been really dialed in on that. And just kind of playing with a swagger out there, which is really cool. And I think that's really showing throughout our other, the rest of our skill guys in our offensive line. When Dante's on, when he's got that pep in his step, we're really hard to stop. So my goal to continue that within this game and to start him off fast early on and just keep the ball rolling.
Back right, Aaron.
Your offense has kind of played in a lot of different weather conditions, under a lot of pressure, and some of the toughest environments in college football, and been able to win in a variety of ways. What role do you think their composure will play in now the biggest game of the season?
Yeah, it's probably been the most unique season that I've ever had, with rain, with injuries, and but they've been composed from the get-go. And I credit really our offensive staff and Coach Lanning. I think we're composed as coaches. Like we practice coaching as much as our players practice playing. I know that sounds kind of weird, but we play the game in our head. We play the game in our offensive staff room all the time. So we've already kind of set in our mind there's going to be issues in a game. There's going to be problems. No game is ever perfect. It's really how you handle those situations that makes, that's the difference between winning and losing. So I think we've done a really good job as a staff, just pressing pause, resetting our focus. All right, somebody's down. All right, what's the next plan? All right, get to the next play. Not worrying so much about the outcome, just focusing on our process. Like I mentioned, like Coach always says, double down. We just keep doubling down and just always coaching, always coaching. Again, credit to our offensive staff for that and our players. I think have really fed off our energy.
We're going to go to the Zoom. Max?
Coach, with some of these wide receivers hurt, we've seen some offensive creativity and guys step up. I want to ask about the tight ends. What did you think about Kenyon and how he did kind of getting flexed out wide, and then Jamari Johnson stepping up to deliver some big plays for you guys?
Yeah, Kenyon's he's had a I don't want to say a difficult year because he's made unbelievable plays, but he's obviously he's been banged up here and there. But really proud of his. I mean, his November has been really good, and he's practiced his butt off and done a really good job in games, making some huge plays for us. He's so versatile. You can line him up anywhere. Had a scout say to me about Kenyon, and it's so true. Like wherever he lines up on the field, that's the position he looks like he's playing. I mean, receiver, tight end, running back, H back, like he fits the mold of wherever he's lined up. So I mean, he's an exceptional player. I mean, one of the most talented guys I've ever been around, and just a great teammate, super humble, and has made really good plays for us. And then Jamari Johnson, I mean, he's another guy that's going to be one of the best, I think, tight ends that ever come through here. That guy is a freak. He's doing everything we ask him to do. He's another guy you could probably throw him the ball about every time, but he's just accepted his role on this team. He's obviously our true Y, but he's a matchup nightmare for people. He's all 6'6", 250, got giant hands, catches the ball really well, and can block at the point of attack. So proud of that group. Even Roger's made some big plays and done a really good job in line for us as well. So Coach Maringer, I mean, credit to him for getting those guys ready to roll and those players for buying in.
Stay on the Zoom. Adam?
Will, just wondering how you've approached your time management and also delegation in these sort of dual roles here the last few days.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. Dan has done it before, so I'm leaning on him. Tosh is in it as well, so it is what it is. I mean, we are extremely focused on this game, number one, because this game is the most important thing for us right now, and we have to make sure that we are pouring into these players that have poured so much into this program here at Oregon. So that's really currently right now in this moment where my main focus is making sure that we have a great game plan for James Madison, who's a phenomenal team, especially defensively, is the number one or number two defense in the country. The rush defense is stout. They have great players on that side of the ball. Their coordinator is really good. Their head coach is really good. And, they're dealing with some of the same things that maybe we are, but, it's all noise. If you let it get to you, it could be an issue. I've chosen not to let it get to me and focus on the task at hand. And when I need to delegate to, University of Kentucky, I do that. But when I'm here at Oregon in the building, all focus is on the Ducks and winning this first playoff game.
Last question here, Zach, on the left.
Can I ask, what's it like going through this process with Tosh, kind of going through the same thing? Does that make it easier for you? And, it's not always common for coaches to stay on, when they get hired somewhere else. What was it about this team that kind of made you want to do that and choose this path?
I mean, I wouldn't be in the position I am without these players, without these coaches, without Dan. I mean, I would feel like a complete fraud if I left these guys throughout this playoff run and this opportunity in front of us to coach in Autzen another time. I mean, you'd honestly be crazy. And Tosh is the same way. I mean, we've poured so much of our lives, so much of our time, our family's time into this team and in this program. Coach Lanning gave me an opportunity from UTSA. The last thing I would ever do would be to leave these players. So that's number one. But yeah, it's obviously unique with me and Tosh and what's ahead for us. But I know he's in the same mindset as me, taking care of business here in Autzen one last time and putting our best foot forward with this group of guys.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Any bottle of water there for you? All right, Kenyon Sadiq, questions? Start right here on the left with Zach.
Dan talked about the break being really good for you guys to be able to get away from the program for a few days and kind of reset. How has that kind of manifested itself, and what did it feel? What does it felt like to be back out there again, preparing for a game?
Yeah, I think it was kind of good for everyone to kind of get away for a second, clear their head, and come back. And you just feel fresh when you get back in the scheme and you get back running again. You start to feel fresh. So I think it's good for everyone.
Right here on the left, you get second row, Eric.
Another opportunity at a playoff here for you guys, and what kind of has been the lead up to this one like compared to maybe last year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the home environment will be great. But no, I mean, we just gotta attack it. I mean, we all know how it felt last year, so just a different mindset of, we don't want this to be our last game. And JMU is a really good team, so we just gotta go out there and do our thing.
Front row, James.
Obviously, Coach Merringer runs your room, but beyond your individual room, position-wise, what has he done behind the scenes in other meeting rooms offensively, Kenyon, for greater game planning each week, and then on Saturdays, from what you're not on the headset, but what you know of what he's involved with by way of calling the games?
Yeah, I mean, manager has impact on every bit of the offense. Him and Coach Stein do a great job, and no, I think manager's kind of like the glue in my mind. He's talking with the O line, he's talking with the quarterbacks, kind of just the tight end position. So, like I say, he's done a phenomenal job. I mean, you can tell, and the amount of work he puts in. So it's awesome to see.
I go Eric in the second row.
Obviously, no guarantee, but looks like some receivers are back at work and you have a chance to play. What would it mean for this offense to be at full strength or a little closer to that on Saturday?
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had everyone out there on a Saturday. So no, seeing those guys out there, it's great for everyone. Everyone's confidence levels, and I'm sure it's good for them as well too.
Left, Zach.
You guys are obviously not in this for individual awards, but when four of you guys get, All-American honors from AP that are announced today, what does that mean to you? And the fact that, it's kind of proof that the process is working here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's great, to get those accolades, rewards, and stuff. But we still have bigger things we want to go accomplish as a team, and I feel like those are more important.
Back row, Matt.
Dan has said that you guys have had to operate the last 6 weeks or so in the season of can't lose again. Now that you're in a position where you lose, you go home. How do you feel like that process is going to maybe make this team better for the situation that you're now in, where you truly is you lose, you go home?
Yeah, I think it's important that everyone realizes that there's no second chances in the playoff. So no, I think it's kind of just keep that mindset. But no, they've done a great job of kind of having us in that mindset the past 6 weeks, as you kind of mentioned. We couldn't lose again. Never knew that. So it's kind of that same mindset going forward of we can't make any mistakes when you play our best football right now.
Left here, third row.
We were just talking Will, and he was saying that he's really proud because you had worked through a period where you're pretty banged up, and then your November was really good. Just curious what you learned from the period where you were really working back from a couple injuries, banged up, and what just made November so great.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate throughout my career to not have a lot of injuries, so to kind of have some bumps in the road, I think was good for me, just like maturity wise. A lot of growth areas, whether it's in the treatment room and just kind of understanding. I still need to prepare like I'm going to play the game or, those things right there. So I think it made me grow a lot in a lot of ways that I hadn't before. And I think it was really good for me.
Anything else for Kenyon? We're good. Thanks, Kenyon. Appreciate it.
To the left side. Encouraged.
I mean, maybe it's the other way around because he was already sitting when I walked in.
That is true. That is what we're about.
Who made the move?
He was trying to come over to you.
Yeah. Honestly, my eyes aren't good enough to read that. If I don't stand over there.
Oh.
Oh,
How you doing?
just your birthday?
Yeah, Saturday.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
All right, questions for Noah. Let's start right here in the front with Zach.
Dan talked about this time, being away from the program being good for players to kind of just like reset and get mentally back in it. What was that like for you, and how have you seen the team come back and, ready, prepared for a game now?
It was like a breath of fresh air, honestly. We came back with tremendous energy. Guys seemed like they was itching to get back. I know I was. And, I feel like that week of practice we had, we flew around and we executed.
Oh, right here on the left.
Just you're in a room with a couple of guys who don't have postseason experience. Just curious what you're telling guys like De'Aaron and Jordan about what it means to prepare for a playoff game.
Just telling them, like Coach Landon says all the time, there are no more bad teams. So going into this next phase of the season, I'm just telling them, like Coach Sam says, add more to your routine. What more are you doing that you weren't doing in the regular season so that you leave this season with no regret, just trying to cross all your boxes so that you fully prepared when you go out there on Saturday.
Here on the second row, Eric.
I wonder what you maybe learned from last year's playoff and kind of maybe what the lingering emotions are there that could motivate this group this year to go further.
Obviously last year didn't go the way we wanted, but it's a new year. So, I've been just approaching it like a clean slate, not really carrying any bad emotions from last year, looking at this year as a new opportunity to just, go out there and play our style of football. But yeah, last year didn't go the way we wanted, but it's a new year.
Back row, Matt, and then behind him, Jack.
Dan has said that this team's had to operate after Indiana where there are no more hiccups. You can't lose anymore. How do you feel like this team's handled that pressure and apply it now into a situation where it truly is you lose, your season's over?
I think, we have a team full of warriors, so we have no fear. I feel like we've approached it like we've approached this whole season. We've been leaving it all out on the table, going to practice, flying around, just really just running towards it, running towards that pressure instead of feeling it and trying to shy away from it, taking it in and just being a realist and seeing it for what it is, taking it and embracing it.
Back there, Jack.
Yeah, just building off that as it relates to the preparation, especially the mental preparation for the playoffs. What is there any difference in the way that you prepare for a game like this as opposed to sort of playoff type games in the regular season, like at USC or Washington? Is the preparation any different, or do you try to keep everything the same?
I think we keep everything the same because I feel like our preparation has been top tier all year. Going into this all preseason or postseason, Coach Landon was basically saying like what we do here works. What we do during the regular season works. We just intensify it in the postseason. You might add a couple of extra hours, a couple of extra walkthroughs, but I feel like our routine and what we have been doing this regular season and carrying it throughout the postseason, it works. So yeah.
Front row, James.
You guys have really steered into the FIBU mantra for the last couple of years, Noah. But when the national narrative and discussion is more about doubting JMU and whether a G6 team, who G6 team should be in the playoff, how they'll match up with you, and like, as a guy who came from a G6 school, what do you think about doubting the lower conference teams or what you see in this opponent who does have some good statistics in terms of run defense, and when people outside are doubting their ability as a guy who came from that level of football to get the success you're having here, how do you feel about when people are doubting that level of football?
I mean, I don't really care what other people are doing as long as our team is focused and, attacking them as, the next opponent. Down in the lower level team, I feel like it's the biggest mistake you can ever make. But I also feel like we're Oregon and we got to be realistic about ourselves and who we are. They're a good team. And, all week we've been, approaching it like we're going to play UGA or Alabama. Like I coming from Western Kentucky, we played teams like Indiana, and we almost beat them. So I feel like, you can't doubt your opponents. You shouldn't doubt anybody. They're a good team. They put a good season together. Yeah.
Yeah, Dan had said that he spent his conference championship weekend just kind of like on his couch, flipping around, watching all the games. Just like he felt like a fan. I'm curious what you did and if you had that experience.
Can you repeat your question?
Yeah, Dan had said that he like for conference championship weekend, he had just been able to like sit back on his couch and really just kind of flip through the games and watch the channels and feel like a fan.
Mhm.
I'm curious if you had that experience, what y'all did for championship weekend.
Yeah, I just, chill with my family, watch some football. Felt like a fan too, recovered. But I feel like the whole week I was just waiting for this moment. So, yeah.
No, we're going to go to the Zoom. Max?
No, I wanted to ask you about some of the offensive linemen that you're running behind. Seen some new pieces kind of step up, whether it's Fox or Janoris or Charlie when Poncho went down. What did you see from those guys, and what's it kind of like just running around behind rather some different pieces?
Um, I didn't really feel different as far as like in game and playing. Like I didn't really feel a difference. I would just say, just from a preparation standpoint that week, those guys coming in and they always, take practice reps and they always take middle reps and they always treat it as if they're gonna get their opportunity on Saturday. So when the moment really came, it really wasn't any difference because of how we practice. Coach Lanning always preaches strength in numbers, and throughout practice, you got different pieces mingling together and for certain reps. And sometimes in practice, I'm running behind those guys. So in the game, it doesn't feel any difference because, yeah.
Max, your hand is still up. Did you have another question? Nope. Okay. Anybody else? One more. James, right here. Last one. Anybody who's redshirting could play in the postseason, and obviously injured guys are on their way back.
Mm.
What have you seen by way of how Jaden has gotten himself ready to come back? We saw him obviously at Washington suit up and not get to play. And then how ready, if he had the opportunity, do you feel Makai is after not seeing the field for the last couple of months?
I feel like they both ready, just because of how we are and how we approach practice as a room. The standard doesn't change for anybody. So as hard as I'm going at practice is how hard they going at practice. And, from watching them practice and watching them go out there and take their practice reps, they ready. Like, I don't think it would be any difference just because of, the level of talent our room holds and the level of standard we hold each other to. So with Jaden and Makai, if they do get their opportunity in the playoffs, I think they would go out there and ball out, honestly.
Thanks, Noah. Appreciate it. It's everybody, Noah. Gets in. You're not the only one. We're gonna have a little bit of a. We're gonna have a little bit of a break here. We got guys. Quick run if you need to use the restroom. Got a couple of guys in the weight room.
One loss, not having the best player. Now they're also seven. Because they suck, dude. Interesting. They got shitty. Here's how Joe.
Then I can just tease the eggs and
That probably should be it.
so hot. Oh, come on.
Keep trying. Fries. It's me.
Todd,
Yeah.
will these be on will like the transcripts be uploaded like playoffs?
I
On like ASAP?
don't know what you're asking me.
Are the ASAP doing transcripts?
Transcripts? I don't
Yeah.
believe so.
Yeah.
I think get your recorder out and start typing.
Oh, I have. Yeah, I have.
Okay, 50%.
Yeah, last one, so I've got
So good. How's everybody's day going?
Got water for you right there if you want it.
Yes, sir.
We'll start with our leadoff hitter, Zach.
Dan talked about how positive it was for you guys to get a couple weeks off and be able to get away from the program for a few days. How have you seen that manifest itself, and what's been the vibe like once coming back with the team?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, first and foremost, I thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But that off week that we had, that Dan gave us, was like, it was crucial. I feel like just looking back, some things we can learn from last year and what we put in this year. That off week really had us get prepared and take off all that toll off our body. So it was pretty cool that Dan can, and that's why I really love Coach Dan. He's ready to adapt, execute some things.
Back row, Matt.
Dan said after the Indiana game that you guys didn't have any more wiggle room for mistakes. There were no opportunities for a loss to make the playoff. How do you feel like going through that experience is going to help you now in a situation where it is a playoff and you do lose, you go home? How's your team handled that?
I mean, yeah, we had it with great respect. Obviously, Indiana was a great team. We took that as a lesson, and we're going to learn from that. And right now, our main thing is to win, obviously, but we're just going to be focused on whatever we got to do to prepare for James Madison.
You're on the left, third row.
Curious, kind of a similar question, but what you guys learned from the experience of going through the playoff and kind of having an extended break last year, and what's that been like this year with a group that is a little bit younger, even if they've gone through a full season, they're not just freshmen anymore?
Sorry, say that again.
So just what's the experience been like? What have you taken from going through an extended break last year before the playoff game? What have you taken that into this year, especially with a group that is maybe a little bit younger than the one you guys had last year?
Just having that fire, not letting off, coming off, having that long break kind of, a lot of us, probably you can tell that probably there's some complacency in it. But, this year we kind of had that factor. Yeah, we got this off week, but, we got to make sure we still have that fire. We're still doing things that we can get better off the field while we're not in the facility.
Right behind him, Isaac.
I'm not sure how deep into film prep you guys are, but I'm curious, what are your early impressions on James Madison's front seven?
I mean, obviously James Madison, they're a great team. Respect to them, they made it to the top, 12 best teams in the college football. So, you're just seeing how much they're able to move. They're not the biggest guys we ever played, but you can tell that they play elite technique. So, it's up to us that we got to play great technique and fundamentals and being elite with what we have.
Front left, Zach.
You guys obviously aren't in this for individual accolades, but when 4 of you guys get AP All-American honors, you among them, what does that mean to you? I mean, there's bigger goals at work, obviously, but that's not nothing.
I mean, obviously, it all comes from my Lord and Savior, all the blessings He poured upon me, and also goes to my teammates. We've been putting in hard work since the moment we all got together, since January. We talk about, that Iron Fist is one of our team this week, just how much time we've been, practicing everything from from winter to spring and into summer and into fall camp. So it's not just me, it's a team thing, My accolades didn't just come from myself, it's all 11 guys on the field.
Your next one, James. What stands out about number 15 for them? Seems like they line him up a lot on the edge, but also inside to create a lot of pass rush and stops in the backfield. What stands out about him?
A great player, like you said, he's a great pass rusher. He has some good moves to it, but we're just gonna take some time, watch some film on him. When we battle, we're gonna do what we got to do.
Back row, Matt.
You've watched Bo operate. You played right next to Dylan, and now with Dante. How do you feel like Dante's handled the growth that he's gone through this season and going from a highly respected quarterback to now maybe, if he wants to, a top 5 pick in next year's draft? How have you kind of seen him grow?
Yeah, just seeing him, obviously me and Dante's in the same class and seeing the mentality and the role and the leadership that he's taken with Dylan leaving this past year and him coming and stepping in and being that quarterback for us, it's great. You can tell last year he was just watching and learning from Dylan. And you can see how much he's been pouring in and he's been learning. And there's things that he probably wish he could get back, but he grows from it like you talked about.
Pancho, we're going to go to the Zoom. Max.
Hey, Pancho, November was a big month for you guys. Faced a couple injuries along the offensive line, yourself included, missed a little bit of time. What's been key for you as far as an offense, finding your guys' rhythm to be playing your best ball going to the playoff?
I mean, just, at the end of the day, it don't matter who's on the field. We trust anybody that go on the field, especially for the offensive line room. Obviously, you talked about, there's been a lot of injuries, amongst the guys. So at the end of the day, we prepare everybody. It don't matter who it is, whether you're 1, 2s, or 3s, anybody that goes on the field from the law firm standpoint, they go in and do their job.
Front row, James. Following with that, Pancho. The offensive line has been a Joe Moore Award finalist year after year, and you guys always talk about that. That's first of all when you guys go in the room saying, Joe Moore. Whether you win it or not this year, how do you feel as the leader of this room that this group showed something different than the past couple of years because of the injuries, where the volume of depth across that's had to be showcased this year is just more than the past couple of seasons?
Yeah, I mean, you pointed out that the depth that we have in the room, and like I was just saying, like just being able to have guys be able to step up when guys go down speaks a lot of volume to what it means to be an offensive line. It's not just us starting five; it's everybody in that room plays a factor into that Joe Moore award. So, no matter what it is, I love my guys, and we know who we are. We the law for them.
Anyone else for Pancho? Nope. We're good. Thank you, Pancho.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Where do we send Zach?
I don't know where Zach went, but he's going to be disappointed.
Hold it. He missed his opportunity.
I took advantage.
I said there was a break.
Dante? Questions? Start right here with Eric.
Dante, I'm wondering what this week has been like for you personally, preparing for one of the bigger games of your life, and kind of how are you embracing this?
Yeah, I'm super excited. This is something, of course, dreamed about all my life. Just being able to, be in the playoffs, one of the 12 teams. And all year we worked our tails off and been through a lot. So we're thankful and for sure excited.
James, front row. It's fairly obvious to have more weapons is a good thing, but when it's been a while, what would it mean to have Gary and Dak in particular? And then if Eastu is to see the field in the postseason, just what this offense could look like if he was to join them.
Yeah, it's always been next up mentality for this whole year, just receivers and everybody stepping up. But if we was to have all our weapons back and everybody being ready for this game, next game, or whatever it is, I mean, it would be for sure a great feeling because, I'd love to have the clip fully loaded. But overall, I mean, if we're good or if we're not, at the end of the day, we're going to have players going to go out there and make plays for us.
Third row on the left.
I'm just curious where you feel like you've grown this season emotionally. Dan was talking about how much you've grown as a leader. Will was talking about how proud he is of you. Just where does that come from this season? Where do you feel like you're at?
Yeah, I feel like just overall in general, I feel like my biggest growth this whole year has just been the way I just communicate and just know how to, approach every teammate differently, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Of course, I'm always smiling every day. I'm always thankful and blessed to be around everybody in that locker room. But I just feel like my communication has been, something I'm proud of. Just the way I've been able to engage with my teammates. It can be on the video game, it could be on FaceTime calls, it can be locker room, lunch, wherever we're at on the football field. And I feel like just overall, I feel like just as a whole team, they appreciate that, and I truly appreciate that within myself. And then, Coach Stein and Coach Lanning, they've been telling me that, that's one of the biggest things they've seen. So kind of glad I've been doing that lately.
We're going to go in the back row with Matt and then behind him with Jack.
Watching you today to your first start here to at UCLA, you've clearly gotten better. How has Will, in your 2 years with him, improved your game and I guess the excitement for him to go to Kentucky too?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, of course, is you have to give your kudos and congratulations to Coach Stein. I mean, he's worked his tail off. Him taking that job is, is like is a dream come true possibly for him. And many people text me, call my phone, and tell me how I felt about it, and I said I'm proud of him. I was smiling ear to ear. I talked to him about it a little bit, but at the end of the day, I feel like the best thing with him is he's not super focused on that. He's kind of focused on his team and his playoff run. And that's the best thing, he's told me and told the team is that he's going to give us his 100% effort, and we truly appreciate that. But yeah, overall, I mean, just being here with Coach Stein, being here with Coach Lanning, I feel like every day with them being in the film, in the film room with me, just pushing me, making sure that I'm seeing, different looks on the film room just to get my mental right. But I feel like the best thing is just the competition here when it comes to just the defense side of the ball, the way we practice. It's just the way we push each other. I feel like at practice I've gotten way better, and it helps me, push through the game and just make plays when it's on the time on the field.
In the back, Jack.
Dante, as it relates to the mental preparation of this game, I know there's a lot of excitement, a lot riding on this, especially with it being win or go home. How do you make this game not bigger than it is, especially in your position where you're a leader of the offense and everybody's going to be looking to you? How do you make sure that the mental of this game stays pretty the same?
Yeah, I'll say I learned my biggest moment of that was the Indiana game this year. I made that game bigger than what it was. Had a lot of emotions that game. Um, kind of some of my teammates seen it. I didn't have that smile on my face. I didn't have that joy. I was kind of too locked in, to be honest. But I feel like from that game on, when it comes to USC at Iowa, just so many different games, I feel like I just learned how to adapt and just treat it like, like another day at practice. Just go out there, have fun, throw the ball, confidence. If you make a mistake, cool, next play. But I feel like overall with this, with this game coming up, I mean, it's just I think about every day, Noah, Bryce Betcher, all these guys that or have their last years here just to play for them and not be so tight on myself and just smile and have joy with them. So I feel like just probably from, my future moving on, I feel like I won't ever take a game bigger than what it is. I'll just be blessed to be able to play it.
Second row, Eric.
Kind of in the same general topic. What's it like when a decision you probably haven't even made, an NFL decision, is being talked about around you and there's all these conversations? How are you processing those conversations or ignoring them? What's that been like for you?
Yeah, it's been it's been interesting. I mean, so many thoughts and so many things going on through my head. And I feel like just having Coach Lannon and having, a support team that helps me get through my everyday life and making sure that I stay focused on the main thing. And of course, my main thing right now is to be where my feet at, is being here with my teammates. Of course, everybody keeps asking me questions, but there's not a decision yet. I don't know. I'm just glad to be here and, play JMU this upcoming week.
Front row, James. Take us into the role throughout weeks and game planning, Dante, of Coach Maringer and how much he meets with you or not in terms of game preparation throughout the week, and then in game, how much he's on the headset along with you and Will.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Sometimes I just go in the staff room and just talk with them and sit in there with them, just to hear what their thoughts are, and sometimes just go to Coach Marriage room, the tight ends room, and just kick it in there with them. But yeah, me and Coach Marriage, we don't really talk super much about the game plans. Kind of more just like checking up on each other, and then if I do have a question on the field, I can go to him and ask him and talk to him about it. And he's like our scientist. He's super smart. He knows everything. He's experienced. He's just super smart, and I really appreciate him a lot. I have a lot of questions I ask him, and he always has the answer to it. But overall, Coach Manager is someone that I appreciate and love ever since the first day I met him. I remember he was on the 6th floor and we played a game of pool together, and he beat me super bad. And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna remember that for the rest of my life. And from this day on, I still want my rematch, Coach Manager, by the way. From this day on, I mean, he's just a guy that I appreciate and love to death. And with him being here on staff and him what he's doing, it's for sure a blessing.
Dante, we're going to go to the Zoom. Max.
Hey Dante, you've had some really big throws and some clutch moments this year, and most of them obviously have worked out. Just take me into your mental. What's going through your head when the team's coming to you and they're saying, "Hey Dante, we need to play from you right here."
Yeah, it's been a lot of moments this year. I'll just say, myself, it could be the defense side of the ball. It's been a lot of times where we had to step up and make big plays. But I feel like those plays are also being made at practice. And I feel like on the field, when it's time for a big moment in the game, it's like we all look at each other and be like, hey, we've done this before. Of course, Malik has made crazy catches. Dylan Thieneman has made crazy picks at practice. I mean, those plays that happen it comes from practice. So in general, they tends not to put so much force on me, so much pressure on me to make a big play, make a huge play. They always tell me to play my style of ball. And when a play happens, a play happens. But, sometimes you have to make a great throw, make a great catch. It just happens. It's a game of football.
We got time for 2 more. We'll go Matt in the back and then Isaac.
Dan said after the Indiana game that this team didn't have any more opportunities for a mistake. Yeah, you guys had to play win or go home mentality. How do you feel like the team handled that and will prepare you for the true instance now where you're in a playoff, you lose, you go home?
Yeah. Our back has been against the wall sometimes, or we can't mess up and got to keep pushing forward. And, we found a way to do that. Of course, the playoff run now is you win, you keep advancing, you lose, you go home. So we're kind of not just, super focused on looking past this game. We're kind of just focused on, today's practice, tomorrow's practice. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the stakes are on the line, but I feel like Coach Land's doing a great job making sure mentally we're prepared and feeling that we're feeling very confident within ourselves.
Last question on the left.
Not sure how far into, film prep and things of that nature you are, but what have been your early impressions of JMU's defense?
Yeah, just JMU, just in general. I mean, this past couple of years has been a great team, great coaching staff, great players, very competitive. I mean, they're one of 12 teams in the college football playoff, so they deserve it. They have great talent. They're very competitive. So it's going to be a great game. They have great defenders, great offense. So at the end of the day, it's going to be a great game, and I feel like our preparation is going to be ready.
Thanks, Dante. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate you guys.
Recording stopped.
Be about 11:30 tomorrow.